Welcome to AEI Stories, the channel with some of the most intriguing and provocative dating stories on the web. We all date, mate, and try our best to procreate. So sit back and enjoy a dating story from hell that I'll never forget. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So let's start the show. Around 2007, I met this girl on a dating site in Atlanta. She seemed cool enough, so we decided to go on a dinner date. But you know how those first dates go. Everyone is on their best behavior, and it's always the ex of the person in front of you who was the crazy one. They're always the angel who was taken advantage of. Anyway, the first date was bland, and I remember almost nothing from it. She stared at me with her dry, cynical eyes while we ate an overpriced, average meal from a standard restaurant. I carried the conversation with wit and charm, while she remained mostly mute and uninteresting. Like many of us men, trying to decipher the thoughts of a woman on a first date is an act of futility. We mainly try our best to gauge the woman's energy for any potential chemistry. On this date, I felt almost none. After dinner, I walked her to her car. We exchanged a few words. Then, while staring into her dull eyes and for some silly reason, we kissed. But something about that kiss just felt wrong. It felt off. Anyway, I gave her one quick look, then we said our goodbyes and retired home for the night. Many first dates went that way, so I didn't think too much about it. Even though the first date was bland, we continued talking the next week. We decided to go on a second date. We chose a place like Dave & Buster's where you can play games and eat food too. I was thinking that if she was boring again, I could at least play games and entertain myself. Oh, how naive I was. Then I made the mistake of meeting her in the middle, then driving her car to the place, a mistake I would learn later. So we got to the place and got seated. So far, everything seemed normal as we looked over our menus. We placed our orders and started conversing. She seemed to be in a better mood this time, so I was thinking that today might be a good day, but oh no, Ice Cube would not show that day in the A. I should have been like Cuba Gooding Jr. in Boys in the Hood and said, "Let me out." Without too long of a wait, our food arrived, and I started eating like any regular person would. However, this strange person with me just sat and stared at her food and me. I then asked, "Aren't you gonna eat?" She seemed offended by such a decent and rational question. She just kinda shook her head. I didn't care, so I continued eating. Nearly 10 minutes passed and she continued staring at her food like she was casting a spell on it. Then after nearly 15 minutes, she took one bite and said with disgust, "My food is cold." I was like, "Well yeah, it's been sitting in front of you for 15 minutes. What did you think?" Before I knew it, she was waving towards our waitress, and the waitress hurried over. This alien across from me then proceeded to berate the waitress that her food was cold and that she wanted another plate. I couldn't believe what I was watching. She was upset, disturbed, and annoyed at the fact that her food was cold after sitting there for 15 minutes. Anyway, the waitress apologized for the inconvenience and informed the specimen across from me that they would prepare another dish for her. By this time, I was nearly finished with my meal and wondered how did I get myself in this mess. I started contemplating on which dark personality disorder this woman had. So as she waited for the second plate of food, I remember thinking that this thing loves drama and being histrionic. The sad thing was, I hadn't seen anything yet. So after she finished eating, we then went to the game room. I was excited for the first time of the date to do something fun. We then decided to play the House of the Dead 3, a game where you shoot zombies as they try harming you. So we started playing, and the shooting commenced. As the zombies attacked us, I called myself being a protector and started shooting the zombies attacking her while also shooting the ones attacking me. Of course, this led to me receiving more damage and dying in the game first. Lord, have mercy. I had no idea of the wrath that would ensue. The piece of matter across from me started yelling, "You're no good. You're no good. You are bad at this game." People started looking at us as she berated me with the intention to embarrass. I then remember her saying, "You can't be good at everything. I'm just better than you." As people discreetly looked at us as she screamed and yelled, I knew what she was doing. She wanted a great altercation with an audience, one that would make her out to be a victim. But would I give her that glory? No. I smoothly walked away to the other side of the game room. I then remembered that we rode together, and there was no Uber back then. I remember thinking that having fun doesn't require a date or the entertaining of anyone else. It's not worth the risk to engage in childish conflict with really a stranger. Don't let others provoke you, and try your best not to engage with anger. She eventually found me, and I informed her it was time to go. I don't remember much about the ride home other than silence. I just remember being glad to get away from such a rude and despicable person. However, the next part of this story is when things get really interesting. Remember, this was in 2007, and I was not the person I am now. I was finished with her after that last date. However, this entity spent the next week love bombing and telling me how she liked me and found me to be hot and sexy. I didn't disagree with her, but I remember her first 2 showings were horrendous. She continued contacting me, insisting we go out again. She apologized for her poor behavior and promised that she would not pull such a stunt again. After much coercing and prying from her, I reluctantly decided to give her one last chance. You know when people tell you to forgive and not hold grudges? Yeah, those people hate you very much. For the 3rd date, I decided we would do something simple and go to a movie at an outdoor mall. Now, what could go wrong, you may ask? Well, much can, with her. So we met at the outdoor mall in separate cars this time, after I learned from the last debacle. We began walking around this outdoor mall as people walked and talked around us. It was a beautiful, sunny day in Atlanta, and people were really enjoying the ambience. So as we were walking, she suddenly turned to me and said, "You have wandering eyes." She then continued by saying, "You see, that's why we can't be together. That's why I can't trust you." She then stormed away from me. I remember thinking, all shit. Here we go again. I didn't chase after her though. I just kept walking towards the movie theater. I wasn't going to entertain that nonsense at all. I guess she realized her antics failed and no one was paying attention to her, so she slowly made her way back to me as I stood at the concession stand. With my stoic and carefree demeanor, I purchased some snacks, then made my way to the showing. I really can't describe what she was doing at that time because I was paying her no attention. We found our seats, and I began enjoying my popcorn. The butter was fire. However, you already know she had to do something to inform everyone that she was God and we should worship her, so as people walked past to reach their seats, which is normal of any movie,
Get out of the way.
she made quirky
So
remarks
annoying.
and sounds to alert them that she was displeased with their presence. She did this many times. I guess they didn't know this was her world, and we were all lowly peons who should be grateful to be in the presence of such a superior being. Anyway, the movie ended and we made our way back to the parking garage. I walked her to her car to say goodbye. Then out of nowhere, she suddenly kissed me. I was thinking, why would you do such a thing? We have no chemistry. We have nothing in common. You have been nothing but a headache. As I stood there in disbelief, she then said in a cocky way, "This is not gonna work out." I said, "Do tell." She said, "'Cause I like playing mind games and you don't. I like giving psychological sucker punches and you don't." She said it like it was such a rational and normal thing to say to a human being. I'm not sure she realized she sounded totally insane in that moment. I remember quickly leaning down and saying to her, "Well, I'll pray for you then." I then pivoted like a drum major from the Grambling State University marching band and walked hurriedly to my vehicle. As I walked with a pimp bounce on the right side, I heard her slightly giggling from the distance. As I reached and started my car, I realized it was my fault for ever giving that malevolent being another chance. I made it home and felt relieved that it was all over. I could move on with my personal life and give other, more qualified women a chance at a fine gentleman like myself. Anyway, as I settled in for the night while listening to music, my phone rang. I was thinking who could be calling me this late. Then I remembered a few breezies who would. So I checked my phone and saw it was the bat I just left in the parking garage an hour earlier. I said, let me end this once and for all. So I answered. She then proceeded to gaslight me by saying that I was being sensitive to everything and I should just calm down. In that moment though, something happened to my body and mind. A spirit touched me from a different dimension and activated a genetic algorithm in my soul. I said to her, I'm not going to be the one who's gonna verbally or physically abuse you to keep you in line. I know that's what you want. I'm better than that. You are full of shit with all your mind games and you know it. She then replied, well, damn you then. She then hung up. It was in that moment that I felt complete peace in my soul. I blocked her and went to sleep with joy in my heart. It was a roller coaster of emotions, but it was over now, or so I thought. She wasn't done with me just yet. The following day, this organism, who was allegedly born from two humans, was still scheming. Even though I blocked her number, I forgot to block her on the dating site. So upon checking my account, I saw where she drafted and sent me a long message to my dating account. I guess she realized her calls and texts weren't getting through, so she found another way. You know how snakes do. They don't need much room to slither their way into your space. Now I don't remember too much of her message because my mind was numb and exhausted from her mind games. I do remember her attempts at love bombing me again by saying that I was hot and sexy, and she wanted another chance to be with me. After quickly perusing that crap, I deleted her message, blocked her account, and never heard from her again. I hope she found the drama she was looking for, and I'm very sure that she did. I had already entertained her for far too long. It was just like a very sad song. It just goes on and just feels wrong. So what did we learn from this date from hell, everyone? We learned many things. We learned what we all should know by now. When people show you who they are, believe them. When someone treats waitresses or support staff poorly, it's a major red flag. When someone makes public outbursts for no reason, especially to embarrass others, get away from them. Don't fall for people who love bomb you only to get your attention and energy. The second you give it to them, they will insult bomb you or play childish mind games. Having a one-strike rule is fine because it only takes you one time to lose your cool and respond aggressively, landing you in prison. And finally, don't let anyone shame you for having standards and cutting people out of your life. Having standards isn't the same as holding a grudge. Forgiveness is not for anyone but yourself in your own time. I had to forgive myself for allowing myself to be around someone who lacked respect, values, proper etiquette, and common decency. Does that mean I need to call her and be her friend? Hell no. She can get the hell on, 'cause for a person like that, hell is the only place she will feel normal. I hope you enjoyed this dating story from hell from AEI Stories. If you loved this story and would like more like it, please let me know in the comment section. I have many more dating stories from hell to share. You take care, and remember, you are the only person responsible for your health and happiness. So until next time.